Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to our first hangout of the year. I can't see myself at the moment, so I don't know whether you can see me or not. Welcome to NAID and NAID TV. We're excited to have you with us today. The Network of African Youth for Development is probably the largest youth-led network in the African continent at the moment, with about 80,000 members spread throughout the different countries over many social media platforms. In 2017, we held elections for country focal points. This was to elect representatives for all the different countries in Africa to be a point of focus for members in their different countries. These focal points are there to help members connect with each other. This has always been the idea of NAID, to help members connect with each other, and once connected, to speak about the issues they face and the work they get up to, and hopefully encourage collaboration. And the bigger network we have, the more opportunities there are for people to work together and help build a better continent. For the elections, we had about 250 applicants. And from those applicants, we elected representatives to 52 African countries. There were so many good, high-quality applicants, though, that we also decided to appoint deputy focal points. And this has worked out quite well in that it's not just one person representing NAID in that country. There are actually two, and these two representatives can actually work with each other to help implement strategies in that country. I'm delighted to welcome our guest from Botswana. She is the country focal point in that country, and I will let her talk about herself after she has introduced herself. So welcome.
Thank you very much, Paul. My name is Phatsimo Rampa from Botswana, the Botswana focal point person. And thank you very much for having me this morning, this afternoon, this evening. I am the Botswana focal point person, and I am the project officer for Autism Botswana, a non-profit making organization that mainly deals with awareness of autism in Botswana. So our work is mainly to do awareness of autism spectrum disorders in the country. We are a national organization. So I started this job in 2015. My role was to interact with families, interact with parents, and then with service providers, and to build an organization that can be able to meet the needs of parents, the needs of service providers, and the needs of people living with autism in Botswana. So the work that I do is mainly around that. And I am also the RLC SA Yearly Alumni, because I'm mainly into issues of development and youth in my country and in Africa as a whole. So
Thank you for that introduction. And it's lovely to have you here with us today. It's obviously very hot in Botswana.
It is hot.
I can honestly say in Scotland we don't have that problem. It's about 1 degree centigrade here, and it's very cold outside. So it'd be nice if we could, if your hot temperature and our cold temperature, if we combine it, would be perfect. But anyway, I digress.
That would be very perfect. Yeah, it will.
What led you to get involved with marginalized groups, in this specific case, autism?
What led to me was, okay, the lack of services or lack of adequate services that we have in this country. And for me, it's also from a personal experience, because I have a nephew who has developmental delay. So these experiences came from home, because we tried with service providers and everything, because I could realize that there was something wrong with the child. But when we tried to ask for services, the service providers didn't know what was wrong with the child. So when I became a member of Autism Botswana, I started being actively involved in the organization. Okay, my mindset was just enlarged, and I was able to know that this is a disorder, and a lot of people in Botswana didn't know about autism. So it was a challenge for me, because I had to teach my family to take a step, and also I had the challenge of also teaching the whole country about autism. So that's what brought me to this organization. It was personal, and also it was more professional, because I'm a social worker by background. So I realized that it's something that can also be done professionally, even at a personal level. Yeah, because autism affects us at a personal level, at community level, and also at national level, even at international levels.
Thank you. How do you actually find? Do you enjoy working with the organisation? What actually? How do you find that it benefits your desire to make a difference to autism in Botswana?
Pardon?
Thank you for that description about why you decide to focus on autism. Obviously, with a family connection. How do you find working with the organisation that you're with benefits your desire to give a loud voice to the issues facing those who have autism in Botswana?
I think I find the journey to be challenging and interesting at the same time, because it is a field that has not been explored much before, and a lot of people don't know or don't understand what autism is. And coming from a developing country where we have lack of accredited professionals working in this field, it's always a major challenge. So for me, it's challenging and interesting at the same time, because we have to work with the existing resources that are available in the country. What resources that we have in Botswana? Service providers, the teachers. How can we empower teachers to work with people with autism? How can we empower social workers? How can we empower nurses, and parents? Because parents are the main focus or main focal point here. So I find the journey to be interesting and challenging at the same time, because it teaches us to use the available and existing resources. Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my next question, really. What tools are available to you to help your work in the local communities?
Okay. The tools that we have are available in existing resources. We use the professionals that are already here, because our main challenge are the resources. In the country, we have only one board certified behavior analyst, and she's also the chairperson of Autism Botswana. So it means that we have a whole country that we're relying on one person. So we use the resources that are already existing in our country. The parents, so we do parent trainings, we do parents as our main focal persons. And at Autism Botswana, we implemented our project in 2016 that was dealing with early identification and interventions for children with autism and developmental delays. It was piloted in a small village, and the project was financed by the European Union. So with that project, we managed to develop a screening tool that was in a simple contextualized language, because the tool was adopted from Kenya. yeah, and then we made a few changes to it because there was one project that was done in Kenya in relation to autism and developmental delays. So what happened was the teachers were trained in order to use the tools, the nurses, the first contact, the social workers on how to identify children. So after identifying children, we got parents to be trained on early intervention, and then some of the children that were referred to the specialists that were in the country. So that's how we try to deal with this using the resources that we have in the country. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, I understand that, well, I know that Botswana is a very big country and the villages will be widespread throughout the country. And so actually getting access to the different communities must be an issue. Has your organization thought about using mobile phones, say, to conduct interviews with the teachers and maybe with the children, or maybe internet technology, but I suspect it won't be widely available in many rural communities. So have they thought about using mobile phones, maybe applications on mobile phones that could help you in your work to make it more effective?
Yes, thank you very much. We thought about that. But we also wanted to make our job more easier in order to have national outreach, because sometimes we are not able, because of capacity, we are not able to reach all the areas in Botswana. So those are some of the things that we thought about on how to expand our services to all the communities that are in Botswana, and also to use the technology in order to do that. Currently, yeah, we don't have those mobile apps, but in future, I hope we'll be able to use them.
Yeah, I mentioned that because you tend to find that mobile phone coverage is much better than internet coverage. And for instance, with the Ebola outbreaks in Sierra Leone and Liberia and that part of West Africa, I understand that the doctors actually had applications set up on their phone, and that made it much easier to assimilate the spread of the virus in the different communities, and therefore help their actions in trying to prevent further outbreaks of it. I just thought I'd mention that anyway, that potentially mobile phones are a more effective way of helping health and education and other matters in rural communities than traditional methods. Just a thought, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
But in terms of human rights, how easy is it for a government to prioritize which rights to prioritize? I mean, how do you think the government, how effective is the government in Botswana supporting autism, for instance?
Okay, thank you very much for your question. The government in Botswana is doing much to help people living with disabilities, including autism, because we have, in the government of Botswana, we have like a specific department dealing with disabilities. It's called the Coordinating Office of People with Disabilities. And they're very, very open to non-profit making organizations coming with them in a meeting and then discussing how they can work together in order to address issues faced by the marginalized population. Even though at the moment, nothing much has been done, but what I would say is that the government is very, very cooperative and they're very, very understanding. And then we have the affirmative action framework that helps the marginalized people and people living with disabilities when it comes to services. So at our organization, we've been having talks with government, and yeah, most have been successful, and this year we would like to implement some of the projects working hand in hand with government. Overall, government has been supportive. Yeah.
So, for marks out of 10 for government support for human rights generally, how many marks out of 10 would you give it? Where one
How
is
do
not
we?
very good, where one is not very good and 10 is excellent.
Mm-hmm.
How many marks would you give your government?
I'll give government 6 out of 10. Because I feel like when it comes to disabilities, a lot has to be done, like in terms of training, service providers, and all that. That's why I'll give 6 out of 10. Like something's been done, but it's not up to the level that can be able to meet the needs of people that are marginalized, especially the ones that are autistic at the moment. Yeah.
I should think that it's quite difficult for the government to actually decide where to focus their attention because there's so many different human rights that have to be considered.
Mm.
You know, so
Yeah.
I guess it's up to people like yourself to shout loud and clear that your area is what needs to be focused on. But I guess there are lots of other areas, and there are lots of people like yourself shouting equally loud. So it must be very difficult for the government to know which areas to prioritise.
Yes.
So talking about human rights, as you know, NAID is really focusing on Agenda 2030, which is about the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. And the areas that I would suggest you're interested in is SDG 10, which is, would you agree that that's one of the areas that you're interested in, which is reducing inequality?
Yes, I will agree. Yes, I will agree.
You will agree that that is one of the areas that you're focused on.
Yeah, that's one of the areas that I think I'm focused on.
How well do you think the Botswana government is adapting to the SDGs?
I think it is well adapted to these SDGs because when we talk about autism in my country at the moment and reduced inequalities, autistic people suffer like inequalities in many forms. Okay, like most of them are not in school. Some of them, because we don't have enough or adequate schools to deal with the needs of autistic learners, or some even are in school, the schools cannot address their needs. And we have like the ones that are older, that are unemployed. Some of them have other issues that cannot be addressed at that level because sometimes the education focus on them when they're still young, but when they graduate from primary schools, there's no means to make sure that they are well cared for until the adult, the youth, and up to the adulthood stage. So that's why I feel like reduced inequalities will fit well with me. Inequalities in terms of social inequalities in social settings, inequalities in education, inequalities in health, because they have access, they should also have access to healthcare in all settings. Health should address all their needs from a young age, like they should have access to early intervention services, and some of them, because of lack of resources, they don't even access early intervention services. So I think like reduced inequalities will fit in the area that I'm working on. Thank you.
Yes, thank you for that. How you volunteered to become a focal point for NAID for Botswana. Could you tell me why you decided to do that?
I have decided to do that. It's a way of challenging myself, and it's a way of being a voice to the voiceless. and it's a way of bringing a change to my country and to other people in Africa. And I believe that Botswana is a beautiful country with a lot to offer, but we cannot do it alone as young people. We have to learn from the experiences of other young people throughout Africa, because Africa is a beautiful place to be. Sometimes if you don't interact and not network with other people, you never know, you think what you know is the right thing, but when you do that and meet other people, you're able to know and grow as a professional, because I believe that being a part of NAID will help me to execute my duties well and to be a responsible citizen and be able to be an advocate at a national level, the advocate that I want to see myself being.
And after 1 month, you were elected at the end of 2017, and we've had 1 month past. How have you found it so far? By the way, I just for people who are listening, I am the lead of NAID at the moment for the steering group. Okay. So I'm very interested in feedback. I'd be interested in your honest impressions after 1 month. How have you found it?
I found NAID to be an interesting platform of where we get like different young people from different African countries interacting and bringing different skills on the table, because I found it to be a platform that can be able to build young leaders in Africa to be the best leaders who focus on the development of Africa and make Africa a better place. I think it's a good platform for African young people because it has a direction. Because at the end of the day, we look at SDGs, we look at development in Africa and how we can be able to make these things work for us and work for other Africans who are not a part of NAID. Like, we also involve our communities, which is a great thing to do.
Yeah. But I would like to say that this young lady has taken up the baton very effectively and has taken up the offer of a NAID blog already. Would you like to talk about what you hope to achieve through the blog?
Yes, I would like to talk about that. Through blogging, what I'd like to achieve is to be able to market the work that I do, or let people to know about what I do, get people to talk about autism, their thoughts, and the issues of autism in relation to development and to other issues pertaining to other young people in Botswana, because we have a lot of unemployment rates in our country. How can young people, what young people are doing, young people in entrepreneurship, what are the skills that are bringing, and young people in civic leadership, young people in public management, like getting young people from different settings, not only young people from the working class, young people who are not working, young people who are employed, young people who are running businesses. So that's what I want to achieve through the blog, through this year. So I'll get a chance to interact with young people and get stories from young people. I won't be telling those stories about our young people here. My job is to get stories from young people and young people to tell their stories. Yeah, so my stories will be about Autism Botswana and what I do, but about young people with the young people stories, the Botswana stories from our young people.
Do you think that Africa needs a network like NAID to get the youth to work together more effectively?
Yes, I do believe young people, like Africa, needs a network like NAID to get young people to work more effectively. Because sometimes young people, what I've realized that young people sometimes they want to do something, but they don't know where to start. But with a network that guides young people direction, there's the path that you need to take, there's this, then young people can know that as young people, there are a lot of things to offer in this continent in Africa. I'm not the only young person in Botswana faced with unemployment. There are other young people out there who are doing something for their communities that we can learn from and interact with on a daily basis. So this network is really, really helpful because it gives young people hope for Africa and hope for their countries.
Yeah, well, I've been with NAID from the start now, and it's amazing how it's developed over the years. It surprised me when the web pages first started over 10, 11 years ago now, how many people started taking up an interest in it. So there's obviously a desire for people to connect with each other. I'm not sure how effective we've been over the years, but certainly we do our best to get young people to collaborate with each other. In the end, though, it's up to the young people to make the effort and to trust the other people in other countries and within their own countries, to make Africa a better continent. So would you like to say anything in conclusion? Would you like to summarize or say anything specific before we finish?
Okay, what I'd like to say is that this is a good platform, and we believe that we'll be able to reach out to people through this platform of NAID, and young people in Botswana will be able to be a part of it and be able to learn and be able to interact, and we'll be able to work to make sure that we are able to achieve the SDGs in this country, work in partnership with young people and other people to make this dream to become a reality for Africa. So that's all that I wanted to say.
Well, thank you very much. It's been great fun talking to you. It looks very hot, as I say there. So hopefully you'll be able to find a cool place to cool down now.
It's so hot now.
But thank you very much for your continuing contributions to NAID. It's greatly appreciated. We need lots of people like yourself spread throughout the country. And I just like, first of all, to thank everybody for listening in today. I'd just like to also say that we do have another hangout proposed, scheduled for a week on Saturday, but we'll confirm that in advance. And we'll be talking to Dr. Frederick Amunu, who's the NAID country focal point for Ghana. He's a doctor there. He's an intern at the Greater Accra Regional Hospital in Accra, and he would like to talk about the challenges of education and health in Ghana, which are basically about SDGs 3 and 4. If any listeners would like to find out more about NAID, we have a website. You can go to naid.org, so it's easy to find out about us. And until the next time, thank you very much for listening. Goodbye for now.